I talk a lot about Superman on these broadcasts. You all know that. You all hear me talking about Superman. And, it's been one of my classic remarks. I talk about how Superman was a socialist. I talk about how Superman, faster than a speeding bullet, faster than a locomotive, able to leap a tall building in a single bound. Look at the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. But I talk about how Superman and the Superman comic books had a progressive revolutionary edge to them. About the first adventure that Superman ever went on was to rescue a group of striking miners from their crooked boss. Their crooked boss was putting them in danger, so Superman flew in to rescue a group of striking miners. I talk about how Superman fought against the Ku Klux Klan and he battled against the KKK, right? And how that was an important thing that Superman did was he fought the Klan. And during the Second World War, they had Superman opposing racism and such, and that was a big deal. I talk about how he was called the Man of Steel, the Man of Steel, and we all know what Man of Steel. We all know how to say that in Russian, right? How do you say Man of Steel in Russian? And that wasn't an accident. It was Stalin, right? Superman was Stalin. And, when Superman talked about truth, justice, and the American way, he was speaking for the Roosevelt Coalition. He was speaking for the Popular Front, anti fascism, anti racism, anti Nazism, bringing forward the working class, the creators of the wealth, the steel workers, bringing them together, struggling for justice, the United States and the Soviet Union and China teaming up to fight fascism. That's the spirit that you get from those Superman comics. And there's other great values in Superman. Superman doesn't like violence, right? Superman, yes, he does do a lot of fighting. He fights bad guys. However, he always saying how much he hates violence and how much he thinks violence is not a good thing. He's a peace-loving kind of guy. Superman is also from a small town. He's from Kansas. He's from Smallville, Kansas. He grew up on a farm, right? And 1936, the presidential candidate of the Communist Party USA was Earl Browder. And his nickname was the Man from Kansas. And Superman is the Man from Kansas, the Man of Steel, Stalin, the Man from Kansas. He's a small town farmer, grew up on a farm, and he doesn't like violence, and he could be a celebrity. He could be the most famous person in the world. He could rule the world as the absolute dictator, but instead he doesn't. He lives a humble life as mild-mannered reporter Clark Kent. He doesn't want glory and fame and honor for himself. He just wants to do the right thing. He just wants to help the innocent. He just wants to live a normal life, but every so often there's a case where a train is about to go off the tracks or a terrorist is about to explode a bomb. So Superman has no choice. It looks like a job for Superman. So he has to run into the nearest phone booth and change into his costume and swing into action to protect the people. And that's who Superman is protecting. He's fighting for the people. He's fighting for the working class, the people who produce the wealth of the country. He's fighting for striking workers. He's fighting for peace. Superman is a hero of the people. And who is the villain? Who is the villain in the Superman comics? Who is the villain? Why, it's none other than Lex Luthor, a maniacally evil bald guy who runs a big, huge corporation and has lots of money and wealth and is obsessed with technology and computers and technological advancement. But he's not using the computers and the technological advancement to make a better life. And he's not using the millions of dollars from his huge corporation. He's not using that to make a better life for the people. Instead, he's trying to rule over them. He's a technocrat. He's a technocratic fascist. Basically, Lex Luthor is Jeff Bezos. He's Jeff Bezos. He is Lex Luthor Bezos, the maniacally evil Silicon Valley fascist who is bald and hates the people and is trying to control and manipulate the people. That's Lex Luthor. But Superman, the Man of Steel, the man from Kansas, the man from the heartland who opposes racism, opposes war and struggles for the common people. Superman flies into action to battle against Lex Luthor Bezos and fight for the common people and oppose violence and try to bring people together, black and white together, the Soviet Union and America together, against fascism, against war, against technocracy, against Malthusianism, in favor of growth and optimism and progress, truth, justice, in the American way. If you are a genuine communist, you gotta love Superman. Everything good about communism. The kind of communism that we need to be communicating to people. The kind of communism you get from the writings of William Z. Foster and Gus Hall. That is Superman communism. It's optimistic. It's hopeful. It's about bringing people together, not tearing people down. It's about love and brotherhood and kindness. It's about bringing out the best in people. You know, you watch one of those old 1980s Superman movies with, who is it, Christopher Reeve. You just feel good after you watch one of those movies. You just feel good. There's just something about those movies, right? They're not epic works of art, right? I mean, this is not Shakespeare, but you watch Christopher Reeve fly into action and kiss Lois Lane and then go into the phone booth and change out of his glasses. Something in your heart just feels good. And that music, you know, that John Williams music that they play with Superman, dum 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 dum, it gives you an optimistic vibe. There's just this optimism and hope to it, and there's just something good in Superman. There's something good there, right? Beneath all the evil in this country, beneath all the ugliness and hate and pessimism and hopelessness and cruelty and indifference to other people's feelings, Superman is good. Superman is good, and Superman is America. Superman is part of the American spirit. All over the world, people identify Superman with America. Superman is a very American story. And as much as we get frustrated with the American people, whether they're being woke or they're being fascist or they're being MAGA or they're being indifferent to the suffering of other people or they're being selfish or they're being pessimistic or whatever, I believe that there's a little bit of Superman inside of every American. There's a little bit of Superman left in our culture. As much as it's been buried by the technocratic machinations of Elon Musk and Lex Luthor Bezos, as much as that is the case, I believe that there's a little bit of Superman left in the American people. You're not going to get the American people to be Maoists. You're not going to get the people of America to be Stalinists. You're not going to get the people of America to be Bolivarians or Baathists or Castroists or Kim Il-sungists. If you are going to bring socialism to America, you got to find the Superman. Superman, the man of steel, truth, justice, and the American way. That is what we need to find in the American people. That is what we need to find in the American people, if there's any hope. That is what we need to find. We need the American people to become Supermanists, to reject Lex Luthor Bezos, to reject the Ku Klux Klan and the Nazis, to embrace the Soviet Union and Russia and China as their friends, to embrace the working people, the people of Smallville, Kansas, to be mild-mannered, to just want to live a normal, wholesome life, to oppose violence, but to see that there's a job that needs to be done. And when there's no one else who can do it, it looks like a job for Superman. That is what we need to be communicating to the American people. We need to find the Superman in the American people. And we need to find it now. That is our responsibility. If there's ever been a moment where it's been necessary and urgent to find the Superman in the American people, it is now. And I don't want to find the Batman in the American people. We'll talk about that too. But I'm going to put these super chats down. And thank you. Got Gabby. All right. Batman appeals to a darker side of the American people. You know, Batman is damaged. Batman's got trauma. His parents were murdered in front of him. He was raised by a butler. Batman is angry and brooding. He's a bachelor. He's never had a wife or a girlfriend. He lives by himself, brooding in his dark mansion all the time, angry at the world. He talks like this. He's got this evil voice. He's obsessed with weapons, all kinds of crazy weapon technology. He thinks the police aren't doing enough. He hates criminals. Batman is everything you don't want to be. Don't be Batman. Don't be Batman. Batman is George Zimmerman. Batman is the Ku Klux Klan. Batman is wokeism. The desire for vengeance. The isolated, brooding, contemptuous, lonely, self-important, vengeful person. You don't want to be Batman. Batman is everything we're struggling not to be. Batman isn't out among the people trying to fit in. He's a billionaire living in a mansion. And even though he's got more money than he could ever imagine, he sits there in his mansion brooding. The world is just unfair to him. He wants to take revenge on somebody. And he's got all kinds of weapons, and he's got this complicated, expensive costume, and he's going to go find some criminals and make them pay. He's going to punish people. He's a vigilante. He's going to take revenge. And after he takes his revenge, he's going to go back to his mansion all by himself and brood some more and resent the world some more and relive the painful trauma of how his parents were killed and fixate on his hatred and his revenge. Batman is everything you don't want to be. You don't want to be Batman. Batman is the evil, negative archetype. He's the opposite of Superman. Batman is everything that's wrong with America. He's a dark, traumatized, resentful, lonely, angry, vengeful, brooding, bitter person. Batman is not what you want to be. Batman is everything you don't want to be. And there's way too much Batman these days. I see Batman everywhere. We're all sitting at home on our computers, not talking to anybody. We're all sitting there fixating on somebody who said something we disagree with, or somebody who did something wrong, or someone who's got something that we don't have. We're all brooding alone in our resentment. We're all isolated, sitting in front of our computer screens like Batman sitting in front of his fireplace. We're all reliving the pain and the trauma of the past and reliving and re-traumatizing ourselves while we sit there brooding and fantasizing about revenge. You don't want to be Batman. Batman is everything wrong with America right now. I see Batman everywhere. Batman on the right, Batman on the left, Batman among the old people, Batman among the young people. Batman is what you don't want to be. You don't want to be Batman. Batman is not what we need in this time. We don't need Batman. We need Superman. We need Superman more than ever. We need the Superman of the American people to come forward and defeat the Batman. That's what we need, because Batman is everywhere right now. Batman is everywhere. We don't need that. We don't need Batman. We need Superman. We need those optimistic, hopeful feelings you get from Superman. We need Superman's humble attitude. We need Superman's selflessness, Superman's kindness and compassion, Superman's sense of duty and responsibility, Superman's humbleness and humility, Superman's, opposition to violence, Superman's love for the people of the world and the people of his own country. We need Superman. We don't need Batman. So, in addition to saying what we need is Superman, we also need to get rid of Batman, because Batman is everything we don't want to be. A resentful, lonely, brooding, vengeful person. We don't want to be Batman. And you don't feel good after you watch a Batman movie, right? You go watch one of those Christopher Reeve classic 1980s Superman movies, you feel good after you watch it. But you go and watch Batman, especially one of the new ones where he talks like this. Oh, it just leaves you with an feeling, right? It's supposed to be men who like them. I'm a man. I don't like those Batman movies. I just feel, I don't like Batman movies, right? The focus is revenge. The focus is people's ugly side. It's not good. It's not good. Not good at all. Not good at all. Superman fights against billionaires. He stands up for the people against the billionaires. Batman is a billionaire, and he fights against the people who he considers to be ungrateful, who he considers to be rabble and inferior. You don't want to be. You do not want to be. You don't want to be Batman. You want to be Superman. Superman encompasses the ideals of the Popular Front. Superman encompasses the ideals of the Roosevelt administration. Superman encompasses the ideals of hope and progress and struggling for justice. Batman, on the other hand, encompasses the dark pessimism of fascism and resentment and the elite, and it's everything you don't want to be. And I've been thinking about that a lot. These kind of things are important. This could be, someone could be watching this and just say, this is a silly conversation, Caleb. This is just a completely silly, off the wall conversation. Caleb, I got news for you. Neither Batman or Superman are real. Okay, now are Superman and Batman in the room right now, Caleb? Now, Batman is not real. Neither is Superman. So maybe you need to educate your audience about real things, Caleb. Well, I am educating my audience about real things. I am. Because even though these are two fictional characters, they represent parts of the American soul. They represent parts of the American soul, parts of the American spirit, and they're very real. Batman is everywhere. Superman is everywhere. And we ought to have a conversation about it. We ought to have a conversation about it, because we need to be real about this. And honestly, it's not, this isn't even a left-right conversation. There's right-wing Batmanism, and there's left-wing Batmanism. There's right-wing Supermanism, there's left-wing Supermanism. This is a war between two mindsets. And don't tell me that Superman doesn't have trauma, because he does. Superman, from the time he was a baby, has realized he's not the same species as everyone on the planet. He's from another planet. His parents are not his parents. He just randomly showed up, fell from the sky. He doesn't fit in with other people. And he's had these powers he's had to hide from other people his whole life. Superman does his best to remain optimistic. But the Lois Lane stuff ain't going to work out. And he's a clumsy reporter working for the Daily Planet, small town guy in the big city. He's really bothered by violence. Other people can tolerate violence. You know that? Other people, they see a fist fight or something, whatever. But Superman, part of what makes him different is that he has pain. It pains him when he sees people hurt each other. Superman has this special empathy that other people do not have, and he carries it almost like a burden. If you notice this is part of the Superman comics. Part of the Christopher Reeve movies is that, Superman is bothered by violence. Superman is bothered by nuclear weapons. Superman is bothered by war. Superman is bothered by bullying and cruelty to other people. And other people can just kind of look away when they see that stuff. But Superman, it aches at his soul. Don't pretend. Batman wants to tell you the reason he's Batman is because of his pain. It's what I've been through. Superman has his own demons, mind you. Superman has his own demons. He might have superpowers that Batman does not have, but he has his own demons. Superman has suffered. Why do you think he has a fortress of solitude? This ice castle that he runs away to just to get away from people because the world is just too much. He has a sensitivity to violence. He has a sensitivity to humans' cruelty and indifference to other people. And every so often, he just can't take it anymore. And he runs away to the Arctic where he just hides in the ice because he just can't take it anymore. Superman has had a hard time too, but it's not a question. It's not a question of whether or not Superman has pain or whether or not Superman has trauma. It's a question of how he chooses to face it. Because Batman chooses to face his trauma alone in a brooding, anti-human, isolated, vengeful, dark way. But Superman, on the other hand, he chooses to deal with his pain by reaching out to other people. Superman chooses to deal with his pain with love. Superman, he wants to connect with other people. He wants to love other people. He wants to forgive other people. He wants to know human beings better. He wants to rid the world of nuclear weapons. He wants to bring America and the Soviet Union together. He wants to stop racial and ethnic bigotry. Superman, despite having his own pain and his own suffering, despite sometimes having to run off to the fortress of solitude, whatever pain he's had, he's decided to be an optimist. He's decided to be hopeful. He's decided to try and do good, to use the powers that he has to do good for the world. That's what Superman has decided to do. We need to find the Superman in the American people. That's what we need to do. We need to find the Superman in the American people. We need to find the Clark Kent, the man from Kansas, the man of steel, truth, justice, and the American way. Look up at the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. And we need to find the Superman in the American people. That is the only hope.